Leonardo was born in Italy over 500 years ago. He's best known as the painter of the Mona Lisa, the most famous painting in the world. But he was also an extraordinary engineer, inventor, and medical pioneer. He was the first person to draw the developing human embryo and made discoveries about the workings of the human body that would not be duplicated till the 20th century. 300 years before it was finally done, he suggested ways of taking man to the bottom of the sea. And he designed a type of hang glider, a stunning 490 years before its successful reinvention. Tonight we'll be building and testing for the first time these and other amazing inventions. We'll also learn why so much of what he discovered had to be rediscovered long after his death. And by using his own writings, get inside the mind of one of the greatest geniuses of Western civilization.
People have asked me over and over again, is this the greatest genius of all time? And I say, yes, he's the greatest genius of all time. And, well, what about Newton? What about Einstein? Well, it's easy to point out that Newton's genius was in a particular area, that Einstein's genius was in a particular area. But there's nobody like Leonardo. Think of every area to which he turned his attention, and how every one was so beautifully created, constructed, and conceived of. That has to be the furthest reach, I believe, that man's mind has ever attained.
In 1499, Leonardo da Vinci was 38 years old and enjoying a golden period in his life. He'd recently finished painting a scene from the Last Supper for his powerful patron, Sforza, Duke of Milan. The painting, which captures the moment when Jesus tells his disciples that one of them will betray him, added to his growing reputation as one of the greatest painters of his time. But then at the moment of what must have seemed his greatest artistic triumph, it all went terribly wrong. The French invaded Milan. Leonardo's patron was imprisoned, and Leonardo was forced to leave Milan in search of work and money.
Oh, this is how fortune works, alike. The wheel turns, and those who are briefly at the top are flung again to the bottom. The Duke has lost his estate, his fortunes, his freedom. But you know what they say, he turns not back, who is bound to a star.
Leonardo needed a financial backer, someone who would allow him to develop his extraordinary, even visionary ideas. So he decided to head east, to Venice. In 1500, Venice was one of the richest cities on earth. Venice's vast wealth was based on trade. It sat right in the middle of the world's busiest trade route. Venetians were busy importing goods from the Orient and selling them to the rest of Europe. But this wealth also attracted enemies like the Turks, who were in the middle of an epic expansion. When Leonardo arrived in the city, their giant fleet lay in wait out in the Venice harbor. With the threat of a Turkish invasion hanging over them, it seemed to Leonardo like the perfect opportunity to find a buyer for a very unusual weapon. So he came here to the Council of Venice, not as a painter, but as an inventor. The Venetian councillors were the real power behind the ruler, the Doge. The scheme Leonardo outlined to them for sinking the Turkish fleet must have seemed the most bizarre they'd ever heard.
Gentlemen, you live in a city of water, and that water is your greatest asset. It's my opinion that the Italians will never defeat the Turks fighting with them in a conventional manner. But with these designs you can create a new kind of army, an underwater army. Men as agile as fish, with armor adapted to underwater travel and with a constant supply of fresh air, such as this. These designs will enable your army to approach the enemy from beneath the water, to drill great holes in the bottom of their ships, sinking the ships, withdrawing, and thus the battle is over with minimal casualties. I'm always fearful describing my methods. Men will rush to make the ocean floor yet another field of battle.
So why do you go before the council?
The Turkish fleet lies just off the Venetian coast. What is one to do?
And will they try so bold a scheme?
I doubt it. They'll probably think I'm quite mad.
There's no doubt that Leonardo's idea of a crack squad of underwater divers was pretty far-fetched and full of practical problems. But if it had been tried, might it just have worked? Could Leonardo have mastered the problems of underwater diving hundreds of years before anyone else? We decided to find out. We've asked US Army counter-terrorism expert Scott Cassell to build Leonardo's diving apparatus. Testing it will be Jackie Cousins, who comes with fearless credentials. Her hobby is swimming with man-eating squid.
This first one is this wineskin thing, which he's got attached to the front of some guy. Presumably he wants to use it like a scuba tank, and he's going to breathe off it.
It's kind of like grabbing onto a beach ball underwater and breathing on it. After a while, you're going to lose all the oxygen and pass out, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And this one, it's basically just a long snorkel, isn't it? The guy's breathing off it. The only thing that concerns me is the depth that you could go to, because you wouldn't really be able to go very deep.
No, if you ever have cut off a garden hose and tried to breathe out of it under the pool, you can only get about a meter, and after that you're not going to inhale. It's just too hard.
Yeah. So I like the idea of being able to walk under the bottom of the sea, drill a hole in the boat and have it sink, but I'm not absolutely convinced we're going to be able to do it.
There's no reason that this can't work, provided we find all the clues.
No, it'd be great if we could actually get in the water and make some of these things work. It'd be fantastic.
It's going to be cool.
A diving suit based on Leonardo's designs is being stitched together using traditional materials. Pigskin leather has been treated with fish oil to make it water resistant.
The water just beads right off of that. If you go ahead and do a dip test, you'll see what I mean.
Okay, so we could actually make the whole suit out of this if it's got good waterproof qualities.
Absolutely.
A reinforced helmet is needed to prevent the mask from squeezing and bruising Jackie's face as the water pressure increases the deeper she goes. The hood will need glass lenses, a material Leonardo would have had easy access to, because Venice was the world capital of glass production.